overdue. I ordered a figure
Mm.
of Riva.
That sounds like a mistake.
No, there's a reason. There's a reason I did it.
Why?
Well, and yes, I fucking hate. You know, I was never a fan of the second sister from the Jedi games, from the first one. Like it
Well,
wasn't, but after seeing Riva, it's just like, oh, she's actually really well done. It's just
really? And you're gonna get me, and then you know what happens tomorrow? The first, right? So
no,
the
but
first, see, the first, by the way, is tomorrow. I am, see, I moved off what I was supposed to do because I was waiting on you and you to get back. I was like, I'm gonna do my thing on the Trump thing tomorrow, but I was too fried, so I was like, Mando's
no.
shows. So I was like, hell, I'll just switch topics to something lighter.
I'm I'm going to convert the figure into a second sister rather than the third sister because the third sister sucked.
Didn't the Force, not Force Unleash, but it was Jedi Survivor have second sister in it?
Fallen Order did.
Or Fallen Order?
Fallen Order was the second one. Or Fallen Order was the first one. Jedi Survivor was the second one. Yeah, it had the second sister, and I can't remember what the number of the sister of the big one, who appeared in both games, although the second game was a very brief fight.
Well, the other one just died fighting off Vader. Or she...
Yeah, but she was the main antagonist for most of the game. The other one fought and supposedly died on Kashyyyk, and then but she came back in the second game. Well, I think she first came back in the book that took place between the two games.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's get on the actual chat. We started off in the conversation.
Yeah, I was going to do the intro, and you did that. But it's always a mess. But no. So figured out today as I moved the other one I planned off to tomorrow at 2. And I'll probably do that one. And then first tomorrow is actually the release of Amazon Prime, The Caped Crusader. But they're all going to dump all eight episodes tomorrow. So
yeah, they still do that. They don't do the week by week, I think.
That's very rare, by the way. Now, it's both a good and bad side. Traditional.
Well, it creates more traffic to websites to do it week by week. Because if you some people didn't watch it all in one lump
sum. Some people like binging more than they like doing.
I prefer binging. That's why, like with Andor, I sat and watched. I waited till the end of the season, and then I wasn't ever planning on watching Acolyte, but I had to make a stupid promise, and that bit me in the ass.
No, we all watch all bad TV shows once in a blue moon.
That wasn't bad TV. That was torture.
Well, one could say otherwise. Now, so I figured out the topic, and something I've been planning to do for a while is a discussion of fandoms, state of fandoms, and how companies treat them, and then how it should be handled or what would fix it. It would be the latter part. So I think a lot of fandoms, what happened is I think a lot of them got infiltrated by tourists or people who had passing interest in the modern era. Like, Star Trek was one of the first to fall. Like, I think because, Star Trek always had an issue adapting to the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Paramount had no faith in Enterprise. So they only let it run 4 seasons. And they let it run for because they were actually. Did you know? Did you watch Enterprise or no?
I watched the odd episode because there was nothing on TV. So I remember watching Next Gen and Enterprise here and there.
Okay, so they were going to go into the Earth Romulan War. By the way,
Oh,
you didn't know that, did you?
no.
They were going to go into the Earth Romulan War, and
I never really got really.
that was literally mythos.
I never really got into the. I watched a couple movies. And yeah, no. My favorite of the sort of Star Trek like shows was honestly Andromeda.
To be fair, you know what really does? It's not a Star Trek show, but does very good service to it. Is Orville.
I just never got it. I don't watch a lot of modern current TV.
Never. Not many people got into Orville, but Orville had the same.
Is it still going?
Don't know. No, it probably is. See, Discovery, Paramount locked themselves into, and they had to finish it. But like, that's what happens when you let people in. I mean, they're not like really fans. Like, see, I have a theory. This has been my theory, and I not really. I state this out because those of us that are about 40 kind of know this. The first major writer strike in the era happened in 08, 09. And as you know, or people don't know, projects in films used to take 2 to 3 years to get out. Whether they were TV series, whether they were stuff, everything was a little bit slower. So you always had like a year or two in between. Now, that kind of fleshed out the old writers that were there for a while. The other ones chose to retire, and then new blood started coming in. That's why you started seeing, like, because I had a discussion with a midwit on yesterday morning that really kind of infuriated me because I had to have the discussion with him how PC culture led to DEI and the modern stuff we face now. You can imagine how that went, Mando. He didn't get it.
Yeah, no,
it started with PC culture.
Yeah.
Then there's like the subtle parts, because that's something I'll have to go into eventually. And
they're not subtle anymore. They're not subtle anymore. They're just
they used to be so subtle, and it just got blatant.
Well,
no, that's a separate authority. So it gets into what happened to a lot of these fandoms. They changed, and then when stuff had to go mainstream, you had to get the non-niche people into it. So you had to open it up to the normies, or people who There's also the weird thing in fandoms that you see. Mando, are you familiar with the mythical wider market?
The mythical what?
The mythical wider market.
Not that I know of.
So the mythical wider market is kind of wider audience. Sometimes what it's called, but it's called the mythical wider market. A lot of games, you saw it in the video games, you see it in TV, you see it in shows. They start appealing to a mass audience versus a niche. And it's you open the net a little bit so you can get people in or new blood in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then it became a whole... See, if you want to come on and talk about the PC culture too, because I laid it out to the guy how it happened. So a lot of Hollywood started switching over. Now everyone's familiar with like Gamergate. I mean, you had a lot of non-gamers or casual people get in. I mean, you started seeing that. Then eventually it went to Comicsgate because Gamergate was successful. Because he tried to say Gamergate wasn't successful. It was. But
Oh yeah.
it was a symptom of a problem. I mean, but that's when you get into the corporatizing of fandoms. People started seeing franchises as money. You know? Like Fortnite's never going to die. Fortnite's going to become like WoW.
Well, and
You
the
know?
problem also with Fortnite is even if it dies, the style of the game is never going to die because Fortnite's made it such a popular thing that almost
It's
every
not
game
even
has their own
Fortnite
version.
anymore. It's not even Fortnite anymore. It's a
No.
metaverse.
Yeah, where anything that's popular gets a skin or something in the game, and then
You know, it's kind of like Call of Duty had a Diablo 4 Lilith skin in it. I'm like, okay. I mean,
wait,
Call of Duty.
which was the one that got the horrible rap singer as a skin? Was that Call of Duty or Modern Warfare?
That was Call of Duty. Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, that just.
You know? But Call of Duty was always destined to be a skin suit, anyways. I mean, yearly release. I mean, Battlefield was fine up until the 2142. Lesson, don't jump the shark when you don't think it's ready. And it wasn't ready. You don't know about that, do you? Battlefield was king right up until uh, like Star Wars
Battlefront.
Battlefront used it, Medal of Honor used it. So you had like 3 war game franchises. You had Battlefield, you had Call of Duty, and then you have like Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor kind of died out because it was like single player more. Like
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty really peaked around World at War and Black Ops. One of those, like Black
Mm-hmm.
Ops 2 and World at War. Then Battlefield is also marketed because of its engine. So they decided to go 2142, which turned out to run like sludge. And Call of Duty wound up taking over. And then later on, you know, Battlefield had to play second fiddle to a lot of stuff. That's when you started seeing it. Because there was a period, like when you look at fandoms and you looked at gaming, from like 2000 to about 2008 or 9 or 10, you had multiple hits per year. Like, even if you. It's like the fandoms of games kept stuff alive. Like, even though they were niche fandoms, like, you may have not liked Hitman, but bear in mind, if you looked at what games were released in a year, then we go down to barely like one good comic or one good game released a year, if we're lucky. If we are lucky. Like, Star Trek was the first to fall in fandoms. Like, Star Trek Discovery was, everyone knew it was dead on arrival.
Which one was Discovery?
Uh, Fuck, my God.
Who was the captain? The actor's name.
Ugh.
Was that the guy from?
It was the first one.
Let me look.
I mean, I'm just gonna take this whistle. I kind of like forget that Star Trek Discovery exists.
Oh yeah, that's the one that made what's her name president of the world.
So the series was announced initially. Like, if you're talking about concluded, I think, because you had a lot of Star Trek kind of faded out as a franchise. Like, it was already on like its borderline way out. Like
And they were
it
trying to bring in more people by making it more woke.
Well, you wouldn't think that was it like it's not it's more like the idea that was wokish, right? It's like Gene Roddenberry was a futurist, but he was also a liberal at heart as well. And because he still worked, and I have to look it back up, he worked on a very good. Did actually Gene Roddenberry die? Let's see, when did he die? He died 1991, going into which would have been easily about, which would have been the very early on in TNG, which he, most part, right? And then his daughter also worked on Andromeda. Like,
Yeah.
he had a lot of work outside. It's not like he was just a one-trick pony, right? He's more famous for Star Trek. His daughter had stuff on Andromeda. Like he did.
Wasn't Andromeda originally written by him?
Yep. Part of Initial Future, yeah.
Yeah, it was something he wrote, and
he also his company also worked in Deep Space Nine as well as Earth Final Conflict. You know what I mean? He had a lot of that scheduled out because a lot of people forget. Because that's why when he envisioned the future, it's him and his wife both actually did the show itself, worked on the projects. They actually they weren't anti what they were doing. It's not like they said, oh, everything is modern day. Now, it didn't help that a lot of his works, like Star Trek, even in the 60s, had the first interracial kids.
But he was kind of like the classic liberal where everyone was equal, but he didn't. Nothing was forced. Everything he wrote was natural.
Yes,
and that's how things used to be.
Like he knew George Takei was gay. They kept it secret. They kept him secret for. He actually, the guy who was Perry Mason was gay too. And that's like, you're talking classic TV there.
Well, that's a lot of people were, and they just, at that time, it was still kind of you don't
No,
tell.
Everyone knew.
But you never confirmed it. You never did anything. It was just like a rumor back then.
Yeah. A lot of the television westerns, some of the cowboys were as well. But it wasn't like a whole deal. People knew about it. It's the idea. It's like, yeah, no, George Takei became weirder later in life. Patrick Stewart's, but Sir Patrick Stewart's the one that really fell off. Like,
Patrick Stewart almost went the same way as Adam West. He became a parody of what he was.
But the difference between Adam West, though, was it's not even TDS, right? Because Patrick Stewart's character is Captain Picard, right? If you think into it, think it back. because like half the cast of TNG went really, really bizarrely far left, even by standards now. They were
Hmm.
very. See, he was a stage actor.
Yes.
He was like a classic liberal, probably a little bit farther left, because Captain Picard is actually based on him,
Hmm.
basically. Now, the idea of you started seeing a more different approach, and this is what people you could see the first schisms and fandoms in the 90s, was some people didn't like the Star Trek films.
They had their selective audiences. Some of them were good.
Like I didn't mind Generation. Like the the TNG films are really weird because then again, unless you read Legends or the other parts of the novels or Star Trek Legends or Extended Universe kind of things, you didn't know what happened to Picard during the Dominion War. The Dominion War changed the Federation.
Which was
The
the movie where he met up with Captain Kirk?
Generations.
Yeah, that I saw that one. That one was actually pretty good.
People didn't like the idea of the War Doctor. It's not like the War Picard.
Yeah.
Like, it's very different. That's more of a product of no one really knows because you've never really seen it fully expanded on outside of the books or the DS9.
Hmm.
What really happened in the Dominion War? Because you're talking the idea of a futuristic federation, which, yeah, they have ships like the Enterprise and the Galaxy class, which are very big warships, but they're not built for war. This is what happened, why Picard got to be a weird series. Like, Picard became a parody of modern day, which, why? Like, a lot of people like the idea of Picard because it's Patrick Stewart coming back to play his character, but then you realize it's just he's partly to blame, as well as what happened with Discovery and current Star Trek, what people
Hmm.
thought. Because I'm not going to say this, at some point you got to get into the point of TDS breaks people. Stephen King pre TDS was better.
Oh, I was gonna say a lot of people. Like, there's some people who are just shit to begin with, but some were pretty okay people until they got it, and then it just destroyed them.
They had never been the same since.
Yeah.
Like, they broke as people. Stephen King has never been the same. Uh, that's the weird thing when, like, if you ever hear anything about Trump, right? Like, the concept of what happened around the phenomenon of Trump. You
Well,
started seeing cultures, politics move into fandoms as well.
yeah, and people are allowed. Like, have no problem with celebrities who don't like Trump, or people like you're allowed to not like who you want.
Mm-hmm.
But the TDS people who don't like Trump it goes extreme, and they're not even sane about it anymore. It's kind of like this whole who you have sex with is your whole personality thing, and TDS becomes their personality.
And that started creeping into fandoms
Look
in
at Mark Hamill.
writing rooms around 2010. You could arguably say, see, America, the pivotal moment around that time was the election of Obama. There was a big cultural shift. We've been dealing with that cultural shift for a while. It's only come at the cost of Star Wars, Star Trek. Hell, they've started to move into Battletech. They've tried to get into 40K, but 40K is pretty slow. Like, when does a project stop catering to its fans? Because it's not like, okay, everyone accepted the MCU was going to be diet comics appeasing to an element.
Yeah, because even before they went garbage, they always pissed off the hardcore fans because they, due to either restrictions based on reality of who owns rights to which characters, it was never going to be proper.
No.
And that was like so many things were sort of changed, and it just was not for the best, and it was done horribly. But that was always known, and it was always said Marvel film or comic films are not made for comic fans. They're meant to bring in people to read comics.
Then they discover it later on.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff. Like, I'll show this because, like, so this is the top grossing films of all time, right? Opening weekend, so to speak. Avengers Endgame, still way up there, right? Spider-Man No Way Home. Infinity War. I don't understand how these made it. I have no idea. I really don't.
I think the last Last Jedi makes no sense. Force Awakens makes sense
That does.
because it was the first Star Wars film in a long time.
With this.
That one makes no sense. That was probably the weakest of all three.
And you could say that was the death knell in it. Now, what's funny is the new edition is now Deadpool and Wolverine.
One sec.
Now, arguably, of 6, right, of the total. Now, it doesn't look like these numbers are correct. Why would this be here? It actually had one of the biggest opening weekends, and it is a fan service film. It doesn't have to have the best plot. It actually goes off the deadpan of it. Now, Jurassic World's a weird one, Timmy.
Was that the second or third one?
Out of the new ones?
Yeah.
I think that's the one with blue. Yeah.
That's the first one?
That's the first one back, yes.
That I saw that. I don't think I've seen the first two. I haven't seen the third one.
Not
But
Jurassic World Dominion or the other.
But I've seen the second one.
I mean, they're already advertising the next one. I'm just like, eh. So you have Jurassic World. See, Black Panther that I get. I wasn't a Black Panther fan that works. Now, if you look at how many of these in opening films that are Marvel, you got Age of Ultron. It wasn't a bad film, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, because that was when their first real bringing of mutants in to the movies.
I
enjoyed.
They couldn't use mutants.
No, so it was all scientific, and then they did they
were metahumans,
and then they turned them all into Inhumans.
Okay.
Which there was a whole big war between Inhumans and mutants.
Well, no one really knows about all the Doom side projects. Like, by the way, I don't know how this made opening weekend, but this is a bad film, by the way.
And I haven't seen it, but that should have been a good film. That should have
been good, but it was handled horribly.
Like the first thing to do with sort of multiverses just should have been like it should have been Endgame level.
See, I don't get why this is here.
I never saw that. That was after I dropped out, and even if I didn't have dropped out, that wasn't.
A lot of these, like, this is like your top, I guess, whenever. Like, you can kind of see it. Like, some of these, and it goes into like fan service stuff, right? As well. Like you could say these films are shitty as hell,
But they're meant to be shitty.
but they're funny at
Yeah,
least.
that's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be goofy, sort of. I wish they would have gone with more original, like the whole Guardians of the Galaxy and
They were always
Game
a
Fight.
slight. Here's the thing about Guardians. Guardians was always the side team, like Suicide Squad was, so you could keep stuff relevant, right? In the comics.
Mhm. No, I know, and they brought him in every so now and then, just as sort of like a surprise guest in this.
You're gonna show up, you know. See, right here is 65, right? But
Mhm.
Revenge of the Sith only had 108 million opening. My God, how did this make the top 100? You're breaking up badly, by the way.
Oh, sorry, I was refilling water.
See,
Back.
even the Pirates of the Caribbean films, those were fan service films too, to a degree. I mean,
Yes.
See, I didn't mind this one. I thought this film was too busy.
That was the final of the originals.
Mm-hmm. Too busy. But when you're talking about films done in the last few years, and this is where you talk about top grossing films. Now it does surprise me that the Harry Potters are that low, considering you would have had better movies back then. But that was what?
And that was before the whole drama thing. Like everyone worshipped. It was like a religion at one point.
It was. I mean, this is all with inflation, too. Because I think the issue with a lot of fandoms is when people made films, like this film, no one learned why that film was good. Because they didn't try anything stupid.
I think it was just one of those things that they made the sequel too late. It would have done much better. It's also one of those films that doesn't have a dedicated fan base. There's certain movies that people love and they'll talk about them years later, but they don't have that dedication like Star Wars does or Star Trek or
What do you mean?
Marvel.
Top Gun was a famous film.
Oh, no, I know that, but there's certain movies that just don't get the cult following because they're standalone films and they're just like a lot of 80s, 90s films. You don't get that, especially for one-off movies, especially at the time. You just didn't get that.
I mean, it was still a cultural phenomenon.
Oh, it was.
Pulp Fiction was, fun fact about it, it was one of the worst films in theater, but one of the top VHS releases.
Well, that's what happened to a lot of movies where they didn't necessarily do great in theaters, but they became cult followings after.
And the thing about Top Gun Maverick, too, it's going to lead into eventually the topic about fan service is Tom Cruise is a leftist, liberal hellhole guy himself. But
he's not even that. He's a Scientologist.
He's a Scientologist, which is worse.
Which is his own thing.
Oh, that's worse. I'm sorry. But he
like liberal. They go by their own rules. That's not even libtard.
They're crazy people.
Oh, I know. It's a cult. I might get killed for saying that now, but
no, you won't. I mean, to be fair,
I'm big enough.
No, but Top Gun Maverick was done in as a spiritual successor.
Yes.
No bullshit.
That's a question because you got the list open. Where are the two Ghostbusters compared to Top Gun?
Say that again.
Where are the two new Ghostbuster films compared to Top Gun?
They're not even on.
They're below. That's all that matters. because
I
I
mean,
haven't.
Solo made it, right? Because what's funny is even in 2012, now I liked Wolverine Origins, but some people didn't like it.
I liked Origins, and I got a really bad take by a lot of people. I preferred the Wolverine over Logan.
I think, see, here's the thing about Wolverine Origins is a lot of that got worked into the Wolverine Origins comic,
Yes,
you know? It's
but yeah,
like,
a lot.
hmm?
But a lot of people, because I know the comic, I was not a fan of Logan. I just did not like that story.
I think they wanted to do Old Man Logan, but it doesn't work.
Well, they couldn't do it properly because they didn't have the rights to Hawkeye or Hulk.
Which, I mean, that's what's funny in, what is it, in Deadpool. They go to the Old Man Logan universe. That's literally the recreation of right in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fun fact about people, you don't get it. Wolverine Origins was so good in the comic run, was so good, it became the origin for Wolverine, according to Marvel. It ran for, well, and it's one of the few books they actually gave it a sequel.
No, Origins was a good. I enjoyed Origins because it included stuff outside of Wolverine. But
See, they did Origin 2, right? So Origin 2 is actually really good as well. Not the film. This goes
no,
with the one. But the comic, they did the sequel, their initial run, and it sold really well. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
It was so good that it became the origin for Wolverine.
Yes, and for something to happen in one comic to be then connected to everything,
Then
it
we're
makes a good
talking.
story. That doesn't happen very often. Like it becomes a multiverse thing where in that universe that's fact, but it doesn't apply to all.
Because the big thing here is it was Wolverine's origins have been a mystery. And the writer who wrote it went through all the comics over the years and interwove them together. Um, he basically, and it goes into the whole idea. If you do a combination of fan service, people used to actually read before they did a project.
Oh no, I know.
Very different than they did. Now people can barely do a Wikipedia article.
Oh no. Some people, I think, all they do is read a wiki or a fan article, and I think that's what happened with Star Wars, with the Acolyte, because she brought things in but had no idea how to implement them or how they actually worked. She just read that certain things happened, like bleeding of a crystal, but didn't research me every time it's been publicated. It's been done
Hmm.
because as we mentioned back in that, there's like it's been done 3 times.
I mean, you have like, and it's funny, you can pick up Wolverine Origins. Like, it's a series I thought about getting into. And you're talking in an era that I want to say they let it actually run. Marvel was allergic to everything running past like even 12.
Oh, they had to reboot it after. Yeah. Well, some
No.
it wasn't necessarily that they didn't want to go at that many, and they decided some were just so bad that the stories got so kind of asinine that they went, "Oh, people are stopping to read." Well, we can't change that because that would screw up the whole thing that we've done. So let's just start anew.
And I think what's the other series that ran a while too, which let's see, I want to say original Old Man Logan ran a while as well. Check that really quick. Because I remember that, and this is the one I was going.
Well, the first Civil War comic.
Yeah, Old Man Logan ran for 2 years, by the way. That's how good it was.
But Civil War, how many comics did that go for? Or how long did that storyline?
The first one?
Yeah, because there's a prelude to Civil War and all the tie-in comics.
Everything's mostly tie-in.
Oh no, I know, but there's some of the bigger stories that take multiple different stories.
See, because of Origins and Origins 2, and when Old Man Logan actually came out, and he's in that's the Wolverine sitting on the porch in Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
That's the universe. That was such a good run. They let that run for 2 years. And you were talking, that was even a miracle.
Oh yes.
But then again, he wrote that with I knew of a lot of people who actually got into Marvel right around Civil War, though I thought Civil War was actually really mid.
And Civil War was one of those movies that it was disappointing if you read the comics before the movie, because the whole Civil War, it was a huge story, and there was every Marvel character on one of the two sides, or in the middle, who got either dragged into one side, and they couldn't. I honestly don't know why they did Civil War so early in the series, because it's kind of like the Infinity War. Like if you read the actual comic, like they brought all the big.
The comic is still mid.
Oh, it's still mid, but there's certain aspects of it that are just so much better. Like huge characters.
The Prelude, by the way, one of the Prelude comics leading up to Civil War is a mutant power who has the power of combustion.
Oh, the explosion takes out pretty much.
It takes out a university or a section, because he takes a mutant enhancing pill, it's like a power enhancing thing, and he evaporates Wolverine down to a skeleton. Then, minutes later, the guy thinks that he's fine. Wolverine gets up and kills him and stabs him through the head, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, bear in mind, when you think about that, Wolverine's healing factor has always been sometimes extreme, sometimes.
It's one of those stories that they can't really.
They stay consistent.
No, because they keep taking it away, and he has to dealing with not being able to heal.
The only way they can actually kill him, and that's actually why one of the comic series I have with the variants, and every time I buy it, is the death of Wolverine. They shelved actually Logan Wolverine for a couple of years, because
but you knew he was coming back. Even though he was buried in Ant-Man, you knew he was coming back. Because Wolverine's one of the characters.
Well, part of the problem was you needed to, because Wolverine got put into everything.
And he's a loved character.
And a lot of it is because, but bear in mind, even Carol Danvers, if you look into a fandom, right? It's what do we say? It still led to her getting to Captain Marvel at the end. It didn't delay it. They were going to do it for Captain Marvel anyways.
Yeah, but they can't. Have they ever done a planned Captain Marvel or just story or Miss Marvel that actually finished to the end? Because the
They
only
did.
reason
It happened for a while because what people don't get right is the Captain Marvel film was a minor success, but it didn't stop the
it,
the end comic that shelved her
she
for.
would have been one of those shelved for years longer if it weren't for DC. They have to keep doing the Captain Marvel comics, otherwise
So
DC can use her again.
this title, every time you saw a the end title, you knew the character was getting shelved
Yeah,
for like a couple of years
for the longest amount of time, they can do it without DC being able to use the title again.
without Marvel. Yeah.
Well, because yeah, they have to do a comic every few years, otherwise DC can start calling Shazam Captain
Yep.
Marvel again.
But it was bear in mind the Captain Marvel film was such a success. It still led to this.
The only reason that the first Captain Marvel film did so well was because it was tied into.
Affinity War. But there was two cuts to the Affinity War film. One was her well, see, you still have to use a character, like, but you're not going to see the character in like a mainline work.
No.
Like, but the problem is too, you often saw it every single time they were doing saturation too. Like at the time that they did the Death of Wolverine he was around everything, way overused.
Mm-hmm.
Thor, when they took Thor off or killed him off, they took him down to like a couple of books. I mean, the fact alone, it's interesting how Deadpool and Wolverine for a modern film has surpassed a lot of goals. Because it's pure fan service. And it touches on a lot of iconic moments, too. Because I'm going to have to rewatch it again a couple of times because it goes over iconic covers.
Quick question, just since did they have the Deadpool variant of Wolverine in the movie?
I don't think so.
Oh, that sucks. He was a hilarious character.
Unless
He
they did, like...
No, because he spoke in Canadian beers.
I don't think... That's one of the weird ones. He might have been in the ones, right?
The other one that they should have had, which I don't think they did, was Panda Pool.
The film was chock full. Like, even if you say cameos, right?
Well, sometimes cameos aren't smack in the face. They're kind of like you have to be paying attention to everything.
I mean, that's not even... I think people were looking at it like... The idea of you have Hulk or you have the others, like... Now the short stack Wolverine, I don't think you got. Like, no, there was a better article because it showed all the Deadpool variants. Like it showed the big ones.
Yeah, no, I saw it and they showed who was playing them.
And then it went through the Wolverine variants. Like, the Age of Apocalypse one was really funny because that's like when you start seeing... It's kind of like, as I was saying on my stream to Judo last night, about You don't have to take my word for it. Because I went into X-Men 97 thinking they were going to destroy X-Men 97. You know what I mean? But it turned out a gay black man actually knew his comics, put his love, and made a direct sequel to X-Men 97, the X-Men classic series. He even used the Rise of Apocalypse storyline. Like, um, like they show, like, if you see it, like some of them, like the iconic cover where he's being tortured on the Cross of Skulls, like that's a very big deal. He fights the Hulk. Like the short stack Wolverine's a built-in joke, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You know why, right?
Why?
Okay, so when Wolverine came out, he was supposed to be only like 5'4".
Oh yeah.
So they call him like the short stack Wolverine. That's why you actually see a couple like different. He was like literally supposed to be like a midget. Like
Well, not quite midget. He was still supposed to be taller than
short, but
no, because Puck is supposed to be smaller than him.
and you know what's funny? A lot of people they kind of know who Patch is, but if you know the comics, you know about Patch.
Is that
Did
the name
you
of the evil Deadpool?
you didn't know about Patch?
No, the name sounds familiar. I just
That's the Wolverine with the eye patch
oh yes,
in Magipore.
yes, with the white suit.
Yep.
They did do that one, right?
Yes.
Because it was in the trailer. Who did they have playing him?
I think it was all Hugh Jackman.
Okay, no, because I know of the one Wolverine cameo character, but there was rumors that they were going to get. I heard two rumors, but I didn't think they were going to happen. Was Harry Potter was going to play a Wolverine, and who was the other one? Danny DeVito. No, a good story about different Deadpools is Deadpool versus Deadpool. And that's where you get the Deadpool variant of every bloody character, including Galactus.
Oh, the Deadpool verse, yeah. Because that's why the weird thing about the Deadpool corpse,
Mm-hmm.
like when they brought that in, they actually brought in, and I don't know if that was Ryan Reynolds' call or the whole thing, and this goes into the discussion, like what makes that film even at worse about is how he uses Dogpool and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you saw like Wolverine Origins as well, they go more towards the actual Deadpool as just a super soldier, or he was used in the super soldier project.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be used in the what is it, not Project H or Weapon X, you all had to have a he- a regen healing factor. That's actually what it was for. But yeah, like dog pool, all of that.
Well, and Headpool isn't Headpool from the Deadpool from the Marvel Zombie Universe? I think originally it was the Zombie Universe Deadpool.
Hold on a second. Where's Headpool from?
I'm pretty sure he's from the Zombie Universe.
He's from Deadpool Corpse.
No, but I think they incorporated him into being from the Zombie Universe.
He might. Let's see. Where was his universe of origin? Yeah, Marvel Zombies. Yes.
Yeah, he was the Deadpool from that universe who, because Marvel Zombies eventually got so big that it eventually did, and in its own story, they did a crossover event with other stories. I'm trying to find. Yeah, because I remember, he was fighting, and I think it was something where he was fighting because they kept going to the Nexus point. I can't remember what it's called, the point protected by man thing, to jump from universes.
Ugh. Because yeah, a lot of the Deadpool variants, right? Because that's the weird thing, especially in the Fox universe, right? When you start to see what's left over the 20th Century Fox universe, I'm surprised they didn't throw the old like Planet of the Apes in there or something weird, like they had the Mad Max films in there, I believe. You can like say like the Furiosa. And that's a bigger deal.
Where'd he go?
Who?
I'm just trying to find a page.
So it is interesting that they don't do a lot of the films. They should have done. I'm surprised they didn't do the Wolverine variant or the Sabretooth variant because I'm actually surprised they brought the 20th Century Fox Wolverine, not Wolverine, but Sabretooth in.
Yes.
That's actually.
Well, they brought Blade and they brought a bunch of the. Because I saw that and I heard about it. This is I've got on my screen my favorite Deadpool variant. And even though I'm no longer into Marvel,
Which one is it?
Panda Pool. But he is no mere panda, he is Panda Pool, the species that endangers you.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah, see? The Deadpool crossover, he speaks in Canadian beers.
Interesting. There's also Spyro Pool. Dear God, I forgot how bad the. You kind of forget how bad the universe gets.
But Deadpool was always it acknowledges how bad some of the stories are by pointing out. And it did it back then, even when things were
What, the Merc with a mouth idea?
And I don't even remember how he got to that point because his original character was just a assassin,
Well, he was an assassin with a healing factor.
and that was pretty much his whole main thing with the horrible drawn feet.
Well, you go through Rob Light. Well, that's even without getting into Rob Lightfeld's art, which he draws disembodied people all the time. I mean, now the thing about Marvel, like, that's why the Headpool thing, like, yeah, he's from there, but, like, I guess he somehow survives. It's like, oh, God, I hate that whole the zombie verse never made sense.
Do you know what? The Zombieverse was fine for its own little contained universe, but I think the problem was it went on too long. When they started doing the invading other universes, like they could have done that one jump into another universe just
It
to show
became the
what.
Halloween special, okay?
Yeah, did enjoy the first one, and if they wanted to, Marvel could do an actual proper horror film and do that. They could do a Marvel Zombies. Like people say they want more R-rated and horror. Like what was it? The one that was supposed to never get released and got released.
You okay?
No, I'm just trying to remember what the movie was.
Which one?
That was supposed to come out, but it kept getting delayed and delayed, and then it was supposed to never come out. New Mutants, was it? That was supposed to be a horror Marvel film. What is it called? Um, yeah, it was New Mutants.
Well, the problem is they couldn't figure out what they wanted to do with it. Then they turned it into they were living in an asylum.
Well, and they kept having to reshoot it. Like apparently, like that movie was. I think I don't. I'm
It was
talking
supposed to
about
be
here.
a series. It was going to be a movie.
I think it's one of the movies that has one of the most reshoots because it kept getting reshooted because every time they did it, it just got hated on, and it was delayed, and then eventually it was supposed to be never released at one point because it was just that bad, and then eventually they did release it, and it just was bad.
Yeah, it's one of those things that is a cursed project.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes when a movie comes out and they see how bad it does before it's even released.
See, I think a lot of when you see, like, this is in the fandoms, because I think, like, it gets the point that you can have the books, like, in either DC or Marvel. Like, Marvel Zombies, yeah, it's campy. It just got really weird. Like,
well, and sometimes.
When was
go
it?
ahead.
No, I was just saying to myself.
I was just going to say it's one of those things that it did good. It was one of those things that sort of was marketed to a specific group, like the zombie movie lovers, but that's not everyone. They just took it too long, and even people who really enjoyed it, it got too kind of confusing.
Oh God, this makes me feel old.
What?
05 to 07. Jesus.
Gee.
Oh God.
Even though I wasn't really reading Marvel at that time, I still remember pictures from
the original run was from like 05. Like I remember it like popping over. Like but see that was a series. It's like when you knew when it got close to Halloween, they were going to do it. It has its own Earth. Because I think even when they did Secret Wars, they did it. It was like, when was the last time? Because you see it like it was a world in like 2050. It was in the Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was that? What did they do the last of the sequels? I wonder. Let me see. Because I know it used to be like yearly or return. I want to say the last one was they tried to say that Captain Marvel was like living in the head of Galactus. Was it
Mm-hmm.
2019? Yeah. But it's not as big as it was. But yeah, that's a. Well, when you start to get into DC, the biggest thing is I think problem with fandoms too, where things start to go bad.
Mm.
I think there's a culture of deconstructing heroes.
Oh yes.
And it's not just historical figures. You see it in. I started calling it with DC around. What was it? I forget which run it was. Right before Joker War. They started deconstructing Batman, but it took like a few years. They were starting. I forget which run was it, but I know Joker War. You started it. They started deconstructing Batman.
It wasn't even Batman Metal.
I'll find it
Because I
because
know
it was.
Batman Metal had there were some cool characters that came out
Well,
of
the
Batman
problem
Metal.
with Batman Metal is I think that was the product of the Batman Who Laughs that went on too long.
And that
Well,
character, and Batman Who Laughs was actually not a horrible character in itself. It was actually kind of a cool idea, but they just kind of used him too much too quickly.
let's see. I don't even want to go. It was beyond the city of Bane, but like you start to see it. I'll have to find it, but will find it because the one which was Joker War, it was
Mm.
Dark Knight's Metal, the button. It's like the crossover. Uh, what's funny is what people don't realize about uh, Dark Knight Metal. It actually has one of the scariest versions of Darkseid. Do you know what true evil Darkseid is?
No, I never really got into the DC comics. Like I know of things in the comics because,
You
as I
know
said
of
before,
it, but you don't know specific. Uh,
whenever I get into something, I deep dive.
so true evil Darkseid, right?
Mm-hmm.
True form Darkseid.
No idea.
So okay, do you know of what he is?
Dark Side.
Yeah, the Darkseid, yes.
Uh, as far as I know, isn't he pretty much the? As far as I know, just basic as more Marvel was. He was kind of DC's version of Thanos.
Well, he is. The thing is, you don't really ever see him in what is his true form.
Mm-hmm.
So he is the god of evil. Now, Metal was the first to show what he would be. Like, if no one just stopped him, I mean, he can technically never be killed. Like, True Form Darkseid
Mm-hmm.
is truly scary.
Well, I was gonna say,
That's what he
you can
looks
correct
like.
him.
Like
Like
him, he basically, this is like why no one could beat him. He could basically subjugate anybody. And
with
he was
Dark.
in Dark Knight. He was in Dark Side Metal. He was in Dark Knight's Metal.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, I was gonna correct myself in that he's DC's Thanos. Isn't he somewhere between Thanos and Galactus, kind of?
New God, yeah. Like, it's one of those things of you never really see him. Like, he's not really like. I mean, Snyderverse was going to bring him in,
Mm-hmm.
like, kind of a thing. But
The problem with characters who can't die is their stories get dull after a while.
well, the idea is he is a constant.
Well, and they've done it well with him, but there's certain characters who just never die, and it just gets a little annoying after a while. It's like, oh, how are they going to... Apocalypse is one of those that sort of... He's a cool character from time to time, but he also is an annoying character from time to time. It's just like...
Well, see, what a lot of people don't get is, yeah, like, you know what, this is what a lot of people don't get. And it's weird how, see, one of the other stories that became like a core book as well was actually DC's Trinity. If you know what that story is.
No.
DC Trinity is what makes up the core of DC Trinity. Was a story that very much actually it was basically right. It was a series initially that they go. It started off as an event, but it became a core. When was it actually? Like, it goes before, but the idea, it's Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
The core of DC heroes.
Yes, and every universe that, because the initial storyline, I think, was like when they made it an official storyline. You have to have every universe has that, but if it has a Superman that dies, the universe dies, because Superman is hope. If that makes sense.
Yeah, although he never dies completely. Like,
well, the thing about it is, see, the initial Trinity storyline, I think, was done. I think it was once they first done in 08, 09, and it started off as a weird thing of they're tying them to the universes, but DC then ran with it. But it's like what Batman represents, what Wonder Woman represents. And it goes into the idea, right? The fans actually made it so popular, it became part of the core. And this is what people don't get when you start looking at it. And I think it's a lot of what franchises lost. DC was kept alive. Marvel and DC have been kept alive by the fans. Star Wars, I mean, it was always the weird thing. Even if you look at something like D&D, D&D fell off. Well, WotC wanted to make it mainstream. I mean, Magic the Gathering went mainstream for a little while as well. Well, it still is now. It's very mainstream now, more than that. But like the idea that, see, if your hobby hits mainstream, its days are probably numbered.
Yep.
Like, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
What you,
That's pretty much what started off with the Star Wars more so than the sequel trilogy was Mandalorian. Because there weren't as many people who got into it. That was just them trying to put in stuff into the movie that people weren't a fan of. But Grogu brought in everyone who thought he was cute, and then they're like,
see, the last Marvel film was, I want to say Captain America was the last one. You could start to see the slide that was going to income before Disney took over.
Well, I was going to say Captain Marvel was almost the first in your face.
I'm going to say, what was the last? I'm going to say it was Captain America First Avenger. I should remember this, but it's been a while. What was the last one before Disney? Because before you started it, because I have to say it because I remember, because you could see what was going to income, right? Because they didn't want to derail the Infinity War.
The Avengers was the first Disney film, so
Avengers was the first.
So was it Thor or Captain America that came out?
It had been Captain America, yeah.
Because Iron Man was the very first one.
And if it was Captain America, like the first prior going in, but it's not like they seized, what was it? Captain America, the last was because you have to think about it. What was the last one before? Because they did, I want to say, was ownership. It'd be easier to say. But yeah, like a lot of this, well, basically, if you think 09, but I think it was Captain America or one of them. It was like one of the last, like the last month. But that's one of those things I should check up as those SAR packs. See, this problem with Google, and you look at it, they confuse old and new. This used to be able to be found.
Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man. Yeah, Captain America: First Avenger was the last one before
Right.
the
I
Avengers.
don't remember that
It
one.
was Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, and then Captain America: First Avenger, and then it dips into Disney.
That was Captain America thing. And you could start. I don't think really when you could start to see the slide. And I mean, bear in mind, like you could maybe start to see it around then. But then again, corporatizing of fandoms is where you start to see the issue. Because
Mm-hmm.
even though I still play Magic to this day, there was a period they had to walk back what they were doing. I mean, D&D is a husk now.
Oh, they keep making it worse and worse.
Oh yeah, Wizards keeps making it worse because that's partly Hasbro.
Well, whatever the
Hasbro,
cause is, I never got into D&D. I think I tried to do a campaign once, and I don't have the imagination for it. And just yes, Coley.
so the
Um,
problem is when you look at you could say the test case years ago was Magic with Wizards. Hasbro always had other franchisable toys. People still bought toys, so it was less you could. And the idea of Wizards of the Coast, which is headquarters in Renton, Washington, is run by a bunch of what were easily progressive people at the time. They were like, oh, we're going to do this, and then we're going to take inclusive stories, and we're going to do it. Magic players never had a chance. D&D still had it because they couldn't centralize it. But it eventually got to the point in Magic, like Chinese, I forget which around the time, because they were going to ship Chandra and Nissa as a lesbian couple. And that got to China. And Chinese market and other investors told them to stop doing it. Because you started seeing a blandness, because you started seeing as well as a change in the artwork, even. Like it was a clear change in art design. I mean, my preference in cards, when I buy them, are older versions of the cards, not the newer ones. Because half the artwork doesn't look like the artwork anymore. Like, a lot of the women don't look like women, kind of thing.
you know what? I gotta be right back. I gotta go to the washroom.
But that actually happened in it. I mean, Magic players had to force it and suck it up if either we were going to keep it or just move on to another hobby.
Nothing has fallen as far as though
Star Wars
D and
is
no D&D.
oh D&D is
I don't even play
D&D is I've been warning people about D&D 1 for a
well,
long time.
wheelchairs and caves. Um,
The battle wheelchair has always been like I remember that. That was like a homebrew rule that got into the book.
but I'll be right back. Give me a couple minutes.
But like what is it? When did they announce? Go back and remember this. See, D&D 1, because the current version of D&D, which is 6th edition, I think they finally released it. Could be dead wrong on that. But it was supposed to be released like this month or very soon. They wanted to do, let me see, same year. When did they announce Magic Beyond? This I'll remember this. See how they actually do it. So WotC Magic Beyond was announced. Universe Beyond. Universe Beyond was announced. Um, February of 21. We know D&D 1's announcement. See, 1 D&D is what they were trying to go with for a while. Which, you can say, it's weird how everything survives. Like, they said for September. Yeah, like September of 24. They're going to finally bring it out. You are talking about 2 years. So far, I think one of the core directors was actually fired. And they've been testing basically this for near what? Yeah, especially the last 3 years. Almost the last 4 years. And it's not going over well. I mean, it's a lot of people don't know what the final product is going to be. We only have theories what it's going to be. I mean, I'm kind of glad I never officially got into D&D, but everyone else I know who did was already getting out of it or changing it. Like, they were going to eliminate races. They were going to eliminate basically what made D&D D&D. You couldn't have alignments. And I'd be very curious what is getting in there. Because they've been working on it. Because a lot of people have seen this stuff.
Well, weren't they trying to get rid of ogres?
Well,
because ogres are representative, quote unquote, of black people or something that they were trying to say.
Fun fact, a little bit about a story and wizards themselves. So when Strixhaven, the magic set, popped out, it's basically a wizarding school.
Mm-hmm.
They started right before that was a set called Ikoria, where they got the Godzilla crossover cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they would have like, oh, it's this card, but it's Godzilla or Mothra kind of thing. They had Kaldheim that came out as well. It's like Vikings, right? They tried to get Kratos and God of War, but they couldn't quite get it. So Strixhaven, being a magic school with different, like, because like the like there's different like branches, they were going to try to get crossover with Harry Potter art. But what's the problem with that? They pulled out at the last minute. What do you think went wrong?
No idea.
Would you like to take a guess?
No, because I might say something.
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, that.
So there was a very negative stigma that got attached to J.K. Rowling, and when it finally got down to the planning stages, they finally had to not do any of the art that they were going to do with Strixhaven. They decided to pull out at the last minute on those crossover cards and didn't do any of the artwork. Now, fun fact about Ikoria. Ikoria was the first set back in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Because, magic cards are only printed in like 8 languages right now. But they had to reduce the languages, but it was the first printing back in Japan. But it comes down to the idea and the concept, because of the stigma, because of the company, they wouldn't do the crossover in that set with the artwork for Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the influencers that WotC uses, they're beyond far left people.
And what's funny about one thing I just want to bring up, the funniest thing about J.K. Rowling is she is still even very leftist,
Yes.
but because of one ideology, she
Yep.
like they eat their own, and that's one reason it keeps getting worse, because they keep coming up with the newest, who's the most victimized group, so we have to protect those, and anyone who disagrees is cut out of that.
Here's an article, by the way, that people don't know about. It's actually very sad when it actually happened. Broke a lot of people's hearts as well. What people don't realize is there's a big crossover. Therese Nielsen. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the funny thing about it. Therese Nielsen has done some of the most iconic cards. Do you know what her crime was?
What?
She is a lesbian woman, been with the same partner for years. Well, what was her crime?
I'm guessing same thing as J.K. Rowling saying men cannot become women and all that.
She went on her social media and she liked a couple of right-wing people. And she made a tweet saying Trump was right.
That is death penalty to the left.
And she got excommunicated, basically. Now, this whole scandal right here, no turf, some cruel turf, right, was done by the first champion, British champion of Autumn Burchett, by the way, who should have been shot for defacing these lands, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do not want to know what those lands go for.
Oh,
Those
no,
are,
they're stupid.
You do not want to know.
Whoa,
The
let me
person
thousands or millions?
The person defaced grew. They're called guru lands. Guru lands were part of more of a niche promotion years ago. You actually had to teach people to get into magic, and it was back when they had leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Even at the time, these were expensive and rare as hell. You can't just get them you couldn't get them. And guru lands, right, are... See, as I said, Therese Nielsen has been in magic for years. Her sole crime was because they thought getting in the new fandoms, right? The person... See, Autumn Burchett defaced these and actually sold these. All because she liked people who just didn't like the stuff at the time.
But tell me, how much is it? In the thousands or the millions?
What does a guru land run? Not in millions. The only card that went for that was the One Ring because it was a 1 of 1. you don't really see Guru Lands anymore. Like, here's the thing about Guru Lands. I I'll tell you, you don't see them much. These are what they go for as basics because they were part of the Guru program. And I mean, as I said, they have subtly faded into history as just rare. Let me see something.
One with how people give into these minorities, that minority feelings about the, if this offends us, it has to be removed. I'm guessing they've been banned.
Um,
They've been banned from tournaments.
no, not the cards. No, these just got too
Oh, I'm
valuable.
surprised.
These just got too valuable to use.
Oh, it's one of those. Okay.
So you see the price of them. So the initial program ran from July 12th of 99 in release in conjunction of starter. It was more 2000s and it was closed in 2001. And you had to teach people to play, and you had to get certain number of points to even get them. So you are talking about a land like these, which you only see like 10 listed.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you in all the years that I have played how many I've ever seen. And it is like you never see a person with a bunch of them.
That's one
They
reason I got out of card games was.
it's not it's one of those things of when you get into promos that, to be fair, that's what keeps these things alive. Like what keeps hobbies alive is actually, see, like Magic, you'll see the sets that they see. D&D, right? With like one D&D, go back to that in a second. See, we have no idea. So like Magic, even at its core, is kept alive by the people who spend the money and they go for the variants. It's a very niche fandom, even though they market themselves for the mainstream.
No, but the reason I got out of it was because I understand cards are expensive or a little bit harder to get, and there were people who kept playing with proxy cards where they says, "Well, it's too expensive." It's like, can you at least prove you have it? Like, I'll do it later. And then people just started playing with proxies of cards they didn't actually have, and they're just like, "Nope, I'm done."
No. Why do you think Canadian EDH became popular?
Hmm.
I'll tell you right now. Because, I'm going to go to a local shop. I'm going to bring out a card that is legit $1,000. Good luck.
No, if you have the card, like there were people who had the card in the binder with their cards, and they show, see, I have it, but we know the value. I'm not damaging it, but you see, I have it. Like that is understandable a little bit
Oh,
more.
I will tell you right now. Like, if you asked, like, by all means, if you're going to proxy cards themselves, you should never, like, okay. So, what was it? I forget what year there was a big legacy boom. Uh, see, I had a bunch of cards, and I was starting to sell cards early on when I was doing it, and I moved some legacy cards, and then legacy tripled in value. Um, Stuff like that. It wasn't until they got to the point. when you have cards, right? It's a prime example that are reserve list. You don't play them. I'm going to be honest with you.
No, and I understand that.
Like, let me this card, prime example. I've seen them. These things have been $200 plus for nearly 3 or 4 years. Like in like and it's not like it's reprinted a lot because these are printed. The last printing of them, like Mana Crypt, gets printed even though it's reprinted every other year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, see, Mox Diamonds, they're about 400. These have been this price for this long. Like, you know why Legacy as a format died? Why it's hard to keep up with Legacy? Because Legacy itself, imagine a deck that just in 4 lands, I think even before the Legacy boom, they were almost like 70 or 80 or $100. Like your base, right? Like, just take this as an example, right? Like these, like I just want you to imagine. Revise about 400 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? These here. Let's assume at one point you had a deck that was one of the bigger decks. You had like these that were like $150 or $200. That's almost 600. Your mana base was $1,000+. You think I'm joking?
No.
You don't see these. And I'm going to bring this stuff out to a local game store.
No.
With thieves, you can have fun with that.
Oh no, I know. But like just for small things, I understand. But if you're going to do that, you should be able to prove you're going to have
I
have it.
think that the thing is, for the most part,
If it's a specific card,
it depends. Okay, if it's an official tournament, you should use the real cards.
or at least people should know you have it.
The store owners should know you have it. You know, Miss Sparkles, why they're so expensive? Because they haven't been printed in nearly over 20 years. You're talking a card that was last printed in probably 90. When was it? 96. I remember going to stores, and if you told people years ago you could buy Black Lotuses for like $10 or $20. Those things are like $1,000+ now. Like these, they don't even want to know. Like you could get these. Like if you're playing EDH and someone uses CE, like I'll be honest with you. Like this is when you look at like so Gaia's Cradle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's only been recent years Gaia's Cradle is below a reasonable price. This one will never be a reasonable price. Legacy Elves plays 4 of these. Okay? Even an HP version of it is $600.
No, but yeah, back
I
to
will let me show yeah, I know, but what is funny, by the way, is this is something people don't know. Like, usually more, and this is weird. Even the World Championship version of this is $100. And it's not even a tournament legal card. You know why? Because it's playable in EDH. It's like whatever. I'm pretty good with them.
But as I was saying before, because I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and it was around the time of the, I can't remember, the gods, the 3 dragon gods or whatever they were called. So they were a little bit more expensive and hard to get. When they first came out.
What do you mean, the original or the movie promos? Let me see.
No, the originals.
Well, the textless ones, right?
But there were people who were playing, who said they had them. They never did. But there was certain people who brought them in and would have them, like, in their binder that they guarded with their life, but they showed that they had it, or they showed that they had it once, and then everyone knew. But there's people who started taking advantage of that, who would never prove, say, "Oh, I'm trying out a deck idea, so I'm going to try these cards," and that's all they ever did was pick the most powerful, expensive cards, and never actually had them.
I call this highway robbery. So you can buy like a. So what's funny on these right here is these are gold bordered cards, right? Because these came in like whenever the World Championship decks were done. All right, not legal, but these are the ones, even as an alternative, right? Because when you did it, they would have these for EDH. Yeah. As a high-end, close, you get to high-end proxies, basically. These are not allowed to be reprinted by any means. So when something is not reprinted, it skyrockets. Or either, therefore, it is not printed in many years.
You going? Okay. And no, Miss Sparkles, he's not passed out. He's just a major suck and melts with my cat.
But the funny part about these are you can get like the Grim Monoliths for like $20, basically. I think there's like maybe a Mox Diamond.
Dragon, pay attention to Miss Sparkles. She's calling you out. I think most of the really expensive cards are ripoffs in general. But I understand people who value them. It's just
why?
Because they're paper and cardboard, and like I know I spend more money than I should on figures, but they're a little bit more. I get people who do it and they like it, so it's what they spend their money on is up to them.
It's not a bad card. It's nice, but it's unless they redo it. It's like
I had a few Magic cards myself. I got them.
Okay, do you know why, in reality, that certain cards are good.
Did they limit them or tell people that they are?
Do you know why?
Why?
Take this card as an example. Look what it does. Legendary land. Taps a green. Add 1 mana to your mana pool for every creature you control.
Oh, it's one of those two powerful ones.
What happens when you have the ability to tap and untap multiple shit? Basically, you know the funny part about this land cycle? They're all valuable to a degree, or they are banned. Okay, there's one that's legal in this cycle. It's legal for Commander. Both, well, technically Gaia's Cradles are legal. Sarah's Sanctum, okay? So Sarah's Sanctum has never been able to be reprinted either. So there were three of these done. All right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the white version. So it's blue, white, and green. This is used in any deck that uses enchantments. Now, I am surprised it's this cheap. I should pick one up eventually because I do collect angels. Now, I wait for the day that this gets legal in Commander. Okay? And this thing will be $1,000. But I don't think it ever will.
I know that usually when cards get too powerful, usually not upon initial release, but when they release more cards with more abilities, yeah, they become almost impossible to stop.
Well, technically, a fun story about the Urza block. They had at least 2 or 3. It was Urza Saga was the only card that was banned right at launch.
Wow, that's...
Yeah. It was banned on release. That's Memory Jar.
That bothers me when they ban something right.
The Urza block leads in the number of banned cards, to my knowledge, and it still does to this day. It leads into the number of. That's the funny part about eras of Magic that you. Even though we live in an era, if it goes into fandoms, right? You look at this, where cards are busted. like so Urza block led in probably cards that were either straight banned or restricted, because it's what happens when you throw the I won't say the baby out with the bathwater or in the design. Oh, she forgives you.
Yeah, I saw. Thank you, Miss Sparkles.
Yes. But back to the thing, like in the idea of fandoms, right? Because a lot of stuff is kept alive by it. Now, I mean, in reality, does Magic becomes expensive as it is, and I should pick up a Tolarian Academy, because one day it is going to get unbanned in Commander.
Well, I've seen these people who are deep into Magic, and it's insane.
Really?
Like it's gambling. Because I watch what's his name, Moist Critical the odd time. Not for politics, just for gaming and stuff. I avoid him on politics, especially more recently.
Why? Okay. He's a Florida man. You know
No,
that,
but
right?
he's liberal.
He's not liberal. I guarantee you.
You didn't hear about that recent discussion he just had?
He isn't liberal though.
No, but he's too lefty for me, political wise.
Hmm.
But I just see him keep opening bo- boxes of stuff and just to get cards and just seeing it's just like I understand
I
he has money, but it's a gamble and it's just like I've never like blind box things are always a pain in the ass for me, and that's what.
Okay. Moist critical plays. Why don't you think he does? Like of course he does.
Oh, I know he plays, and I know he because he does it on. But it's just seeing all the boxes and knowing how much they are, and just seeing how he just like one
I
more box.
don't. I can guarantee you he at least gets his money back on them.
Some of them he says he doesn't always. He's talked about it before.
I can tell you which ones because he opens up stuff that's not like.
But no, there's been some boxes where he's gotten his money back twofold, and some where he's lost.
Okay. The issue with cards, and this is weird, and I have to say this is a different tangent, is you have to understand what sets are going to make the money back and which ones aren't.
Hmm. Well,
Like,
and the problem is you decide to sit on them because some of them prices will go up, and some of the isn't. I know that
okay,
values go up, values go down.
that's sealed boxes, okay?
Hmm.
That is, I'm going to get it. So I know what sets are at least going to rough hold value and which ones don't. Like a prime example, right? See something here. Okay, man, well, let me explain this to you. You see this deck that I just built? Commander built?
Yeah,
I built? I own all of these.
yeah.
All
What's the
right.
total value of that deck?
It ain't the version of this one, I can guarantee you. Because, so, I can tell you what I have spent more than I have in the last. So I had to pick up one of these. This has been reprinted a couple of times. Mine cost me $10. I have had one of these for years. Mine's more expensive than this one.
Mm-hmm.
I have had my Rise of Eldrazi ones since they came out. I own a place set of these, but I've owned them for years. I own one of these, but it is, as I said, again, it's like a lot of this I own that I had to get. Like, I think the only stuff that I haven't duplicated, because a lot of this deck is cheap in theory. Someone's like, how do you know what it is and how expensive it is? Right? Is they said this is. So this caught the one that I caught cost me about $2. But a lot of this I have. This is the duplicating of basically making the Modern Horizons deck of this. All right? Of this commander. Now, the Modern Horizons version of this commander, not optimized, right? It says this is what the value is. Now, in reality, that is very scary because what makes up most of the value is a couple of bigger cards. Titans cost $30, $40. But then again, they're very busted cards. So you can even to this. But a lot of these, right, are relatively cheap. Let's say it's $4 a card or so. Like some of these I have. Actually, I'm going to take that one out because I just changed that one out.
Miss Sparkles, I think a lot of people who collect certain things have
We have
a gambling addiction because
it's not a
buying cards.
it's not a gambling addiction versus I could actually resell these. You can have that.
It's investment, and this gambling and buying cards is technically a gamble, especially if you're someone who buys. If you're someone who goes and hunts for certain cards to play the game, and you just play the game and you just go, I want to build this type of deck, that's fine.
Mhm.
But people who constantly buy cases and boxes and blind packs, it's a gamble because you're spending money.
That's a gamble versus the people who are like me who buy for what we know is good.
You buy specific cards.
Yep. So when Ugin the Spirit Dragon initially came out, we knew this was going to be a stupid card.
Miss Sparkles, I'm reading your stuff. I know where you're going.
I see it. See, I still have my hobbies, though. That's the trick. But a lot of this stuff I've had for years. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the funny thing about dirt, right? In this and hobbies, right? While stuff changes, dirt always becomes valuable. You know what I mean? These things are always used.
I understand dirt's valuable. I've watched Waterworld.
See? You see this like these? When you need lands that get reprinted, dual lands, when they get printed in standard, I don't have to buy new ones. I would have the old ones because they get brought back to standard every so often. I used to play more like
this is more complicated than I don't game much these days. I do video games more. I can't do card games.
So, like, let's say they reprint a card in standard. There's 10 difference of these. These get reprinted. So some stuff is only Commander legal and
Sparkles, I can't judge anyone for being addicted to a hobby. I have, if you see as I've shown you my collection and my lightsabers, I have obsession with an addiction to collecting stuff. So that's not, it will ever keep you happy as long as you're not hurting yourself or anyone else. Or wasting money on your addiction rather than on important things like food and stuff.
What's funny?
Then the addiction is a problem. I can stop. I can just jump out. I'm not going to. Not yet, at least.
I forgot what that card's called. But no, like, then again, when I build a deck, I build for optimization, though.
Yeah.
So.
And you might buy the odd blind box just when a new thing comes out, but you don't go buying to get the most valuable card.
No, I learned it's silly because
that is where gambling comes in when you're doing that.
Cards don't when you understand what doesn't retain its value, you don't buy it. I mean, there's stuff that gets reprinted that I'll buy the odd ones. Because in hobbies, right, you just gotta know what's valuable and what's not.
Well, and even when you know what's valuable and what's not, or what's going to gain value or not, things can always change. And when I did Transformers, I understood that usually primes kept value and went up, but they kept reissuing the same figures over and over again. They still do.
Mm-hmm.
The G1 Optimus Prime, having one even loose and mint condition, was worth a pretty penny.
Let me show you something.
But nowadays, they've re-released the G1 so many times, and there's so many knockoffs, it's worth nothing.
So, here's something. So you look at a Trial and Tribulation. This set has actually retained its value to a degree. Okay. Prime example. Now, some of these cards are modern legal. Now, because of printing standards, these retain value, or they pretty much will. Because, let's say a card gets a staple, becomes a staple. I can guarantee you that as soon as they get these in, they're going to run out of stock eventually because I can
They're high
tell
demand.
you, yes. So when this set was first released, this was $50, 40. These are 40. Now the problem is it's not as good as it is on paper, right? Because the version, like this is settled at this price. This was higher. This version of Kozlik is
Mm-hmm.
higher. Now, the only one of it that has retained its more higher value, but it's settled right here, is this
Mm-hmm.
one. For good reason, by the way. But this version of the new Titans have settled because this is the third versions of them. Now, this has been reprinted enough times that it's about that price. Now, when you look at something like an investment as far as niche hobbies, right. So I knew this Emrakul was going to come down because it's not as good as the old ones. Right? It looks good, but it isn't going to be. This
Miss Sparkles, which Optimus Prime do you have for sale? And for simple, the best place to sell is, do you have a comic shop that buys and sells? Because those are probably the best shops to, if you're looking just to sell. Although if you sell to someone, a middle, like someone who will resell it themselves, you're going to be getting less because they have to make a profit on it. They can't just make. So if it's something's for $100, they're not just going to give you $100. They'll probably give you 70 at max, depending on how nice and if they know you. Or you try eBay, and the best place to get values for, well, cards, they have specific sites for values, like what he's looking at. But
they're a little bit higher than normal.
but the best place to go for pricing is go to eBay, look what you're selling or what you want to sell. Make sure you don't look at the listed items, because listed items is what doesn't mean they're going to sell for that. Go to sold items and sort. But
You ask how often people get, it depends on the cards and the sets, really, because, like, if you told someone, like, this is, okay, Wizards does not acknowledge the secondary market. And I repeat that. Wizards does not acknowledge or can't acknowledge the secondary market. So, what winds up happening is they reprint cards like every 4 to 7 years. Every 7 years or within a cycle, fetch lands are reprinted. Okay? The fetch lands that sacrifice a land and search for a land, they get reprinted. Up until one of the Commander sets, because of the popularity of Commander, these have been reprinted a couple of times in the last few years.
see, reprinting should make them less valuable in my mind because it's easier to get.
It depends when they do it, right?
And how often if they reprint it too many times, that will destroy the value.
Yes,
Yes.
that's why Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have reprint equity, is not as, and it's starting to hit Magic to a degree. So, prime example right here. This was the first time I think this has been reprinted in a. Hold on. Can't exactly tell you. This has not been reprinted that much, but it is a kind of a staple.
You're
Well,
roboting.
Me?
Yeah.
My net's acting up, isn't it?
Just Miss Sparkles, my best recommendation for what I've done for when something's not really selling is you're going to take a bit of a loss. Just take something in a lot. Like try the other comic shop, wait till it's open, and like go there when it's open. But if they're small and they're not open as often, they sometimes don't give as much. But I'd say sell it in a lot for a fair price is the best way to get.
Refresh.
If you're desperate for cash and you have stuff, you'll take a bit of a loss, but yeah, that's my best recommendation. Okay, we'll talk about it later. He's back, and he's back about a different topic, or to end the stream if his internet's still being shitty.
No.
Apparently, both of us are sounding robotic, so maybe good
So
time.
what's funny about Desecrated, it was reprinted like once or twice. I guess Tales of Middle Earth, which is a premium set, and then the other. See, this is on its third printing, but it's not printed that much, so it retains value. This whole set, even in a lot of stuff, when you look at sealed product as a prime example, let's say it's sealed product outside of collectors, some stuff retains its value, some doesn't. Like if it's a mass-made set and it doesn't have any value as far as commander or stuff goes, it probably isn't going to, like a mass-printed set like this.
Okay, you're roboting, and apparently I'm also roboting to Miss Sparkles.
Well, I should not. My net should be back stable.
Am I still roboting, Miss Sparkles? Oh, I'm tired.
No, but a lot of stuff you see that holds value is the short printed sets. If it's a valuable set or a commander set like this, it holds value. These collector's editions hold value. Because the problem with collector's editions, this is when you talk about it. So when you start looking at like what happens with collector's editions, you start getting the variants and you start... See, Lord of the Rings is the one that brought in a lot of the sports card collectors. So there's a lot of variants like this. They only pop up in the collectors boosters. Right, so they only pop up there. So you can't just get them, or if it's in a set booster, you know. But in reality, those are where... But it doesn't have to, See, this is why you see less of these cards, because there's less of them. It's See, I'm more of the person that I like the alternate art cards, but I won't vouch for the paper that they're printed upon. And I say that nicely. And some artwork looks like puke. So, like this Kalia the Vast looks good. That one looks like ass.
So let's start with something other than magic cards.
Yes.
We were talking about other stuff, and we got a little too deep diving in magic.
Yes. I have to show it. I'd have to show you one day, Miss Sparkles. I didn't realize I stopped sharing it.
When you came
When
back, you
you
never.
so when you get into the other, right, where magic gets expensive if you want certain variants. Some artwork doesn't look good. Like if you want artwork, I don't like a lot of variant artwork. Why does everyone want to be modded? That is not the trick that works. Hold on. I guess when I came back and didn't show it. I'll show this before and then move on to a topic. Like so when you look at a lot of cards that come out, when I say special editions, like
Mm-hmm.
there's like test prints. So when you start seeing like Moist Critical and a lot of them that are opening cards, like Lord of the Rings, right, was mass open because of the foils that
Oh,
came
I know. I
in
do
the
collect
set.
cards still today, but I don't collect any gaming cards. I've got a bunch of Star Wars just cards because I always try and go for the autographs. That's all I really care about.
So usually you find as a prime example here, depending on what you like in your variant artwork. Some people like the variant artwork and the full artwork, right? Me?
Yes.
You gotta understand, I am very weird in the ones. As I said, I won't vouch for the paper some of these are printed on. Like this version of Eldrazi, yeah, it's not as bad. When you start getting into certain ones, like I don't mind this artwork when it gets to the full art, but this artwork of this card looks really bad. Like when you look at the different versions of Kalia the Vast, that artwork looks good.
Yeah,
That one,
frameless, and whatnot.
that does not look good, and that was a big push in this set. This works on the Eldrazi, but it doesn't work in much else.
Why don't you join in, Miss Sparkles? You wanna start shit?
I don't
What,
care
Miss?
about that. I don't care about the Mr. Beast drama.
What? Wait, there's more drama other than it was apparent he knew what was going on.
I don't care.
Yeah, I know you don't care. You care about magic.
No,
You,
I just don't. I don't care about that kind of drama because it's degenerately bad. No one wants to talk about it. Not even people. I do need to get those though. I care more about my hobbies and my gaming than I care about flash in the pan drama.
Miss Sparkles wants to join. She's asking.
Sure.
Oh, you sound so cheery about that.
Well, it's already derailed enough. Why does she want to join? But no, back to what I was saying before. About a lot of fandoms, right? They get hijacked. D&D got hijacked.
Oh yeah.
Magic still has retains its like uniqueness.
Well, magic still hasn't been affected too much compared
I
to some
don't
other.
care about the degenerate drama. I don't. Mr. Beast was always a jackass, and I could tell. Why do I care what the man does?
But um,
But like D&D 1 is finally releasing its 6th edition. It's going to be really funny what happens with it because Critical Role dropped them.
oh,
You didn't know that?
no,
Critical Role is doing their own custom games.
Well, is it because they went so fucking garbagely woke?
Critical Role is far worse.
Oh, I don't really follow any of that.
Oh, okay. So when D&D started hitting mainstream, Critical Role, Critical Role largely is blamed for destroying D&D, going mainstream. You have to understand that because it was a bunch of actors who not only cosplayed their characters, but they did it. And most of them are far lefties. So what winds up happening is, I guess the system went to shit, and then even they dropped it. That's what happened, Mandalore. They dropped. It's been a big deal because a lot of people haven't talked about. Like, I kind of brought it up before about D&D 1. It is, if you're in the space, you know about the changes incoming. It's like, okay, like a prime example. There's rumors they're going to get rid of races. They're getting rid of alignments. There's no longer alignments. There's no longer races. Some race traits are supposed to be removed. So it's how it lands is how it works. What do you want, Miss Sparkles? How are you? Miss Sparkles. Commies here. I forgot I'm going to be having fun in a little bit. But yeah. But that's what happens. I mean, it's either going to make or break D&D, judging by the system. Because I don't know really anybody who, like, I really don't even know. I mean, anyone who's excited about D&D 6th Ed. Like, it's supposed to be, September 17th. Officially. But, get your mic working.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so what I was going to say was, I was talking about how Mr. Beast faked all his videos. Like, only people he knew were winning the prizes and stuff.
Oh, I've heard. I don't know what it is.
And you're a liar. You do like degenerate drama. What about Tony the Frog and Riley and Mint Salad?
No, I really don't.
Yes, you do. You're a liar.
I really, really don't.
I love you, but you're lying. You're a liar.
I'm being honest.
Okay.
You can say that. I only did that stream the other day to piss him off.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah. Okay.
It's called tit for tat, right? And I don't really. Okay. When I don't care for what is YouTuber degenerate drama, because when you realize at the end of the day, when something is a nothing burger, it is a nothing burger. It's water is wet. Are you shocked? If you know what I mean, Miss Sparkles. Water is wet.
No, it's not.
Mr. Beast is an ass. Mr. Beast was fake. I'm
hmm
shocked. God damn, I'm shocked. No, I'm not,
Really?
because no, you could see it all over his. A lot of people called it years ago.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, did you ignore me? How about you show me and tell me what happened? Why is D&D with Sargon over and Dev and V and all that? I really don't know anything about it.
Supposedly it's Dev.
What happened?
Well, Rags. Is, well, first V pulled out of it because the drama with Rags.
What was that?
Rags was doing stuff behind the scenes, railroading the party.
Nuh-uh. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Rags was railroading the party's decision.
I don't know what that means. I don't know at all. I know that it was really weird when they were talking about the orcs and they were making it like they were like a
Okay.
race of people. Remember that?
Let me. Okay. Here's how this works, right?
Mhm.
Here's why, and I'm going to be very honest, this is why a lot of groups fall apart. Because In Claws of the Eagle had a similar problem with Arch. D&D's campaign when V was DMing with the Mist fell apart too, because that fell apart because Sargon and Arch started PvPing each other.
PvP.
So what did I miss? What are we talking about?
She just wants
We're
to know
talking
why.
about how the end of Alkalite is amazing and how great it was that they were
Don't
plans.
say that.
I will beat you with an inch of your life.
It was amazing.
So basically, because of some drama between Rags being Rags, and then
It was kind of annoying, to be honest.
V pulled out the first time.
Yeah.
And then V agreed to come back. Then Dev decided to pull some background bullshit, because what people don't know that was happening in that campaign was Rags was trying to railroad the party, and then the party didn't want to follow along with what Rags was doing.
Yeah.
And then Dev suddenly decided to cozy up with Rags. Then V had enough and said, fuck it. And then Rags was leaving anyways. It wasn't even that. Then eventually Dev pulled some weird stunt that we won't talk about what happened.
Yeah.
And
I should ask.
Basically, something to do with people being really close to Sargon, and V wanted to play the game, and Dev didn't want to play.
I have an answer for you. Remember when you asked me who Sargon? Oh no, it was Arch, and I asked you who Sargon would pick, V or Dev, over which one he would choose sides for. I finally came up to a decision. I think Sargon would pick V because I was watching old Mr. Medicare streams, and I didn't realize that V and Sargon go way, way back.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah. The whole thing, right, with, and I hate to say it, YouTuber campaigns always fail because of just sheer egos or anything going on. It's like any group. When you have a group that doesn't want to play together, they go against each other, and that's why the D&D failed. Because if you're wondering about why it, and I hate to say it, Sargon, there's something about it. Sargon is combination. Sargon can be the world's worst player and also the world's worst DM.
Yeah, because he controlled everything. It was all up to him. I remember that. I remember that kind of bothering me a little bit.
Well, it doesn't help with Rags being Rags. So
Rags is annoying. Darth
Yeah.
doesn't have do you? Darth?
there
Is he
isn't
even
there
there?
isn't there isn't much difference between. Okay, if you ask me, there
Mm.
isn't much difference between Rags and Dev outside of just being one is centrist TM and the other, because both will argue that they're right.
Do they? Like in the same way? I don't think they argue in the same way. I think
You should
what
go
bothers
back.
me is Rags seems more like he seems more quiet and
Oh,
he about his way of
oh,
he
oh, you
seems
don't.
sneaky to
Oh,
me, like
you do
quiet
not
and sneaky
know. Oh, you don't know
about
about
stuff.
the. You do not
Yeah.
know about the lore of Rags.
No, I don't like Rags, so I just don't like him. I
Okay,
don't know why.
let me give you an
Bye,
idea.
Darth.
See, I guess no. Like, do you know about the lore of Rags?
No, I don't like Rags. I just said that.
Rags theory. So Rags used to hang around with Arch and Sargon and them years ago, before he started hooking up with Mahler and them to do EFAP. Okay? Rags was a smaller, but he would do some commentary. Of the group, he is a legit furry. During
Is he really?
VTM.
He says he's not. I've only
Oh,
okay. The only
he's
time I ever
lying.
really watched
He's a
him was
liar.
on Jay Longborn. Do you know who that is? Longbone, I mean, that chick. Do you know who that is?
No. Yeah.
I've watched her on his stream a couple on her streaming a couple times. That's it, and I just don't. I don't know. He gives me a bad feeling in my gut, and there's something about him I don't trust. I don't know why.
Okay, here's the thing. Him, and if I let me check something. I don't think Arch has it up on his channel anymore.
Has he ever been on the kill stream? Rags? I should look into that.
I do not think Arch has it up anymore. I really, really don't. He used to, and it was up there pre-hack.
Yeah.
Pre-hack. I don't.
You hack him. Is he crazy?
No, nope, it's no longer up there, and it's in the Nether Void. And
Well,
to my knowledge, it's never going to come back, and I will be very curious. So what happened is,
I was talking about you to my kids the other day, and I was like, what I love is when you're like, you do realize, Miss Sparkles, you just know when you're talking. It's just, I enjoy you so much. It's just the way you talk to me.
so Arch used to have. Let me see if Glorious Rex has it. Nope, he has
Glorious Rex. These names.
No. So, I don't think you could find it anymore. It was on Arch's channel pre-hack.
What was?
I don't think, and I'd have to tell you if I find it.
Okay, you will.
If I find it, I will have to find it. Let's see.
What is it though?
It was in Claws of the Eagle campaign.
Okay. Claws of the Eagle. What is that?
VTM set. Okay, so Vampire the Masquerade campaign.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. The where
and Arch
that was like a lolly vampire or something like that.
Arch set it in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay.
So it basically got to be a cursed campaign because of multiple reasons.
Like what?
Dev and Uzulu hate each other.
Of course. Yes.
V decided to metagame and
What
near
does that even
fucked
mean?
over the setting. And then he
What
was
does
like
that
the
mean?
first. Hmm?
What does metagame mean? I don't know what that means. What does it mean when
Metagame
someone
means when you know the rules.
So okay, so he decided to go by the rules, is what you mean?
He knows
What you
stat
said?
lines and he knows rules, so he decided to metagame against the system.
Okay. Listen. When you say V decided to metagame, I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Metagames means he went with the meta and understands when you do enough campaigns, you
Mhm.
know where the DM's gonna go.
What's the
So,
DM? You act
so
like I know what you
you know the stat lines of the monsters. You know how to mid max.
mean. Okay.
You know how to make the annoying character that can do everything.
Oh, okay. Okay. So isn't that like cheating, kind of in a way?
It's the character that breaks the campaign immersion.
Hey, didn't that happen to Magic cards when they made it online? There was like I think I watched a whole video about like this card that was like, if you
It's
had
different. It's
it. Okay.
honestly, metagaming is very different there. Like when you're talking about role playing metagaming,
Mhm.
it's the players that, and this is what V will never admit he does it. He
Mhm.
likes to play his character as immersion, but he also plays like in the D&D campaign, he played
Mhm.
a charisma god.
He
So
would. I mean, he would. I kept was it female or was it a guy?
he literally was trying to play a broken character. He's like, "Well, I just wanted to play a mage." No, you're just playing a broken character because you can.
Well, was he a girl
Combination.
or a guy? Was he a girl or
No,
guy? Because I know they kept using, trying to use his feminine wilds through D&D through the
no,
whole
it's
game. It was
female.
so annoying.
He was a female mage.
He was in that.
Uh-huh.
Did he kept saying it because I'm a girl? I get to do this and stuff. It was so annoying. He kept saying that the whole time during D&D.
So you're talking about during that campaign. It wasn't as
Yeah.
semi-cursed. I was waiting for Rags to blow it up because Rags was trying to play a paladin without playing a paladin.
You guys are so
Okay.
funny. What does that even mean?
Okay. Rags, when he played a paladin, he was the quickest oath breaker. So when you break your oath as a paladin,
What's the
sworn
oath?
oath. So
What's the oath?
paladins have a mechanic. If you break an oath,
What's the oath?
it's their mechanic.
What does that even mean? Okay,
Knightly
I'm just gonna get
paladins are a knightly order,
okay. And they
right?
swear the oath of I will, like
So
doctors, I will never hurt anybody type thing.
yeah, and Rags was the quickest oath breaker ever. He actually lied, so Sargon could technically said he broke his oath and make him do a penalty roll,
Well, what
but
was
he
the oath? That's what
chose
I'm
a
trying to
but
figure out. What did he say he would never do? But what is the oath that they say that they'll never do? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I forget what oath he chose.
Oh, okay. So you get to pick your oath.
There's different oaths as paladins,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So he broke. Basically, if you choose an oath,
Mhm.
right? That campaign was beyond curse.
Yeah, I could tell. I met a weirdo in that camp in the recent D&D. I met a weirdo on there. He's weird.
So you're like talking like what when you're talking about when your character like when you do an oath.
Okay.
I don't know what oath he chose. Let me show you.
Oh,
People think we're talking crazy, right?
we should make a D&D team. We should do it. I want to play really bad.
No.
You do it.
So
You're going to. Why? You never do what I want. Why don't you ever nice to me?
I don't like playing D&D. So let's say in 5th edition, one of these oaths that he chose, right?
Okay.
So, like in Baldur's Gate, people found out when you broke your oath, that's like a hidden class. Let's say he chose an oath like this, right? There's certain stuff you can't do.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
All right. There's a lot of rules in there.
It just depends, right? So let's say you take an oath that says not to lie or be whatever, or it breaks it. Rags just said, "Oh, I'm just playing a paladin to play a paladin. I don't."
What is a paladin? I don't even know what that word means.
What a paladin class is?
Yeah, what is that? Yeah, is that like a little wizard guy or what is it?
Paladins are like paladins are like what the hell do they call paladins now?
Little fairy boys?
There's a private chat. Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey.
Welcome back.
I picked a picture just for you, Miss Sparkles.
You picked what? Oops. You picked what?
I know how much. My profile picture, I changed it.
It's a Baby Yoda. Oh, God, I hate him so much. Oh.
So basically, what a paladin is, it's like a knight that has a bunch of holy attacks or charged attacks, right? Divine smite kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. Well, what do they look like? Can you show me a picture of one real fast? I wonder what they look like. It'll help me out if I know what they look like.
They look like knights.
They look like knights? Okay, so like the Three Musketeers.
That would be a thing. That would be a... that would not be D&D. That wouldn't be it. Knights, they have like armor.
I hate his dead eyes to Yoda. I hate Baby Yoda so much. As much as I hate Uwu. I hate him. He's so ugly. They have a giant stuffed toy of Baby Yoda for $500 at Walmart. Why? He's huge. Why? Why would you buy a huge Baby Yoda? And he's not cute. He has dead eyes. Look at his dead eyes. It's so ugly. Sorry.
But
anyways.
Well, see, the whole thing, right, is D&D has its own fandom, right? That it doesn't...
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't... You can still play old systems. You can play custom games.
What was that? Oh. What was that? Oh, God. It's so ugly. I hate it so much.
And poor Benjamin's learning to play rhythm gameplay.
Oh, I know, yeah. At least he likes this game. He's happy this time. he wasn't very happy with the last game. I missed the last game. He hates it. Yeah.
He liked Stray.
Not Stray. That's what I said too. But no, he played a Ghost something. It has a chick villain who looks like a mix between Doc and Matrix.
He gave up on it?
Did he? Oh, that's probably why it didn't take him very long. That's probably why I missed it. Yeah, probably didn't.
Hold on. No, he got to episode. He got to 5 episodes.
Is that your background, Darth? I like your background noise. It sounds like there's like.
I'm just fiddling stuff.
Dragon Man and I realized that the chick who had horns in Acolyte shouldn't have horns. Don't only the males have horns or whatever?
No, apparently I got corrected.
Oh, okay. Damn them. Damn.
They can't.
What
they
species
can?
was
Why?
she?
Like Darth Maul? I could have swore they said something about only the males have that.
No, the one also.
Let him answer. Well, I don't know what race that was. How am I supposed to know? I just know she was the one of the she
Zabrak.
was the one that carried the twins. The one knocked up, the one that got knocked up
The
by the
Zabrak.
black
Oh,
Zabrak.
oh no, the Zabrak, the one of the Pelagian space witch dyke mamas. It wasn't that females have horns. That the fact that she had horns wasn't wrong because I think we brought that was brought up in the Star Wars chat when we had it
Okay.
on the other
Okay.
channel. She wasn't supposed to. The pointy ears was something that made no sense because I looked at different variations of Zabrak and none of them have pointy ears. So
Okay. Because we
Leslie
looked up
Headland, or whatever her name is.
the Harvey
Leslie's just an
Weinstein
idiot.
or the Harvey Weinstein. What do you call it? She used to work for him. Yeah, assistant.
Okay,
Stupid.
so let's look at- see, here's the thing, right? Acolyte is how you do. Let's say this. Acolyte is how you do fandom wrong. Like Star Wars, what it's become is just they went from
It needs to die, but that would hurt Darth, so I'll let it live.
when Disney. Okay, Darth. When do you think Star Wars fell off?
I
If
don't
you say
even
Jar Jar
think
Binks,
it was-
I will hate you. I love Jar Jar Binks. Don't you dare say Jar Jar Binks is bad.
Okay, I might need to drop out soon because it's roboting bad for me. But as long as you guys can hear me,
I can hear you.
yeah, I think it's my net as being shitty. But it didn't even drop off with the sequel trilogy. It just those were not the best movies. They were They were done for fans, but at the same time, like they were ripoffs of the other three of the original trilogy,
And the
they were
prequels. Yeah.
the place where I really sort of noticed a drop live action. I don't even because I just trying to think in cartoons because the cartoons were pretty good except for the one that took place before episode 7. But it really dropped off. The real oh my god, this might be the end of Star Wars was honestly Mandalorian season 3 when they started doing a lot more celebrity sort of cameos in that episode with Lizzo and Jack Black.
Yeah,
so I think it's not the prequels when it starts to fall off. I think it fell off. Like I think when Disney took over, like Rebels felt like a decent.
Oh, Rebels was good. Same thing with the
The Force Awakens wasn't the worst thing, but we were like, surely they're not going to bomb it as bad as they did.
Well, the problem was they kept changing. The story kept changing. Like episode 7 had a story and was planning on leading into episode 8, but then what's his name got hands on episode 8 and just went.
Well, no, they gave it to right.
Okay,
here's something that is interesting. If you want to bring this back around, this is not how you handle a fandom. You don't give it to a director that doesn't know or like Star Wars and wants to tell his own story. Ryan
yeah, but the guy who did was it Superman and Batman? He didn't like, or what movie was it recently? It did really good, even though the guy didn't like that. It was like a superhero movie. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, I just watched a video on it. There's one of the superhero movies. Thor. It was Thor. It was Thor. Thor 2. The guy did not like Thor or anything like that, but he still Thor 2 just still.
You're talking about Tita? No, Tita Waikiki. Tita Waikiki.
I don't freaking know.
Whatever his name is.
I can't say it.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? The guy who didn't like it, like the character at all. I think it was Thor 2. I swear it was. And then he ended up.
It was Thor 3.
It was Thor 3. Oh, then didn't that do bad?
Yep.
Which one?
He put too much comedy into it.
Yeah, but was it the same guy who made Thor 2? I thought it was the same guy who made Thor 2.
No.
No? Oh, okay, then I'm wrong. I swear there was a guy.
You're going to go with it.
Or Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe it was that.
Okay, there's a difference, right? Tito, I think, Waititi basically took over it because he did not. Um, it wasn't that he didn't like the franchise; he didn't know what he was doing because he wanted it because Disney offered him a paycheck.
Oh yeah.
Ryan Johnson, I think, when it came out in interviews, because I was talking about Darth earlier, how that is one of the highest opening movies ever. I have
What
no
was
idea. Um,
what movie?
The Last Jedi.
I'm wondering if it's just because people were having hopes that more things were going to be explained in that movie, but because of them changing to that asshole, it just because Snoke was supposed to because what's his name said Snoke was supposed to be explained his backstory in the Last Jedi, and it was just completely abandoned. They had to go back and do it through books and comics and other things to explain who Snoke was. Like he just kind of threw everything out the window. Like they should have kept the same for trilogies. They should keep the same director for all three movies.
Oh no,
If
the
you do
Act
that,
Man. The Act Man, like Marvel Rivals. Act Shill liked it.
I got in an argument with him. His hat's stupid.
No, but it gets into the whole thing, right? Because you could say that not that Star Wars was like Acolyte. Do you know why a lot of people watched it? Because they thought like, oh, it's going to explain the dark side of the Force.
The
Yeah.
whole point. Well, the whole point of the story was supposed to show Star Wars from the other side because we always see it from the good guy's side. It was supposed to be from the bad guy's side, and
That
turn
would
it
be
just
awesome.
try.
Oh, you know what's funny during the show? Do
I
you
always vote for the
remember?
bad guy.
Do you remember uh Mandalore how Lindsay Headlands had one job was make the Jedi look like shit, and then when they slaughtered the uh the witches because they were doing dark side things, it proved that the Jedi were right. And then in the final episode, they had to do the swerve that the
There was
Jedi
no
were bad.
consistency. There was no consistency with that show at all. It was pure
I
garbage.
know. You
It
had
The
one episode.
power of
You had
one. The
no,
power
no.
of two.
Okay,
The
okay.
power of
So she
many.
said no. So she actually said she was going to make the Jedi look like shit and make the Sith look good.
Why though? Why?
And it's in reality, the fans. It's kind of like it's the effect of like the showrunners do with the boys. No matter how bad they tried to demonize Homelander, all the fans side with Homelander.
The thing is, you can do like if you play like if you ever played the old Republic game, you can you can make the Jedi look bad without without completely sort of changing their whole narrative. It's just
I
from a
love
point of
that game
view.
so much.
But yeah, if you
I
play as
love
Sith, you get to see that there's issues with it, and you if you read comics and whatnot, you know there's issues with Jedi. But
I played as
you can do
Sith. I loved it.
but you can play that you can do that without sort of destroying the whole narrative of the Jedi. It's just from a certain point of view, they can be bad. But she went and just tried to make them actually bad. She was someone who hated the show and hated the fans and just wanted to ruin them. That's all she did, and I've got a cat trying to choke me out. Ah, that's my face.
The cat knows about Baby Yoda on screen and wants to kill it.
All right, I'm gonna have to go. If my internet's being really unsupportive and keeps on roboting, so I'm gonna have to let you guys
Okay,
go.
Yes, I
bye.
will see you.
I'm probably
Bye.
about to go too because I'm gonna go for a walk before I get to see you later.
Mm,
Bye, Dragon Man.
I'll see you. Mm. So Mandalore after you're about. So Bungie's getting layoffs. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. I wish I'd made this more refocused. Get sidetracked. But I do have stuff a lot more focused. So tomorrow, yeah, I am more cheerful. There's like reach 4 people. Oh yeah. I have pondered streaming Arena, but I don't want to take the time and investment. But it is interesting that Hypnotic is talking about say no to rage. So, but you need to take a slight break. But I will be back tomorrow afternoon. I will be talking about the FBI director talking about Trump things. I don't know. Discussion of fandom, I think I get it. If it lays a test bed. But that's what I do. Ugh. But a lot of things on fandom, as I said, right? Star Wars, they took advantage. And then eventually what happens is when you push the fans out of a fandom to a perceived, or they go back to an old. Like, the thing like Magic or D&D, you can always find a forum to play it and you don't have to support the company. You may have to buy the product, but you don't support it. The concept in Star Wars is when they did Ryan Johnson and did it, they moved away with what the fans want. Because the idea, if you do fan service, because what I was going to bring up, and I may have to bring this up later, is like MiHoYo. MiHoYo does Genshin, Honkai Impact, and then Honkai Star Rail, right? They know how to do fan service. They know what their fans want. It's not that they milk their fans. They know what the fans want. They also know what people are going to buy and not buy. They might get new people in. You might get it and do that. But yeah, I'd have to talk about the whole thing, maybe decline of all fandom. But I think, and the problem is too, certain stuff is just kept alive by the fan service. But too much fan service, right? Because it goes back to what, as I said earlier, Deadpool, right? And Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine. Good film. Maybe not the best film, but it is a very breath of fresh air. It is fan service to the core of the people who want like Deadpool and like Wolverine. So tell me that you can't tell me it doesn't send a signal. Same with like X-Men 97. That should send a signal. Fan service and following the plot. But I'll digress and explain on that more. I wouldn't say that, IGB. I wouldn't say that. The hell. But I suddenly got about tired. And plus I need to rest before something. Before I forget to do something and I'm not going to lose a rank. So, but I will catch people later. But I think this weekend I'll stream. I need to check it. Division New Manhunt is either this week. But I know next week I am going to be doing Diablo 4. I would stream CZZ showing the Hollow Zero, but that is more pain. But I will have Diablo streams because it's going to tail into the season, and I'm going to try to get to 100. See, I'm still getting over the tail end of being sick, so I don't have as much energy. So, yep. So tomorrow I have the thing on Trump. I'm going to have the part 3 is going to be going over the Secret Service testimony, which was the 30th. They had that on the 30th, and that's a 3-hour hearing. I have to go over. Well, I'm not going to go over it on stream. I'm going to go over it and paraphrase, because a lot of that is pure minutia. So I will catch people tomorrow, and I'll be back at 2 p.m. Central. So I will catch people tomorrow.